Welcome to our deep dive into the world of Bono. We're going to untangle his fascinating journey as both a musician and an activist. A story full of passion and this drive to make a real difference.
A really unique path, blending rock and roll with global politics and humanitarian work.
Okay, so where do we even begin with someone like Bono?
Well, I guess we start at the beginning.
Right, at the beginning. Born in Dublin.
Dublin, Ireland. To parents from different religious backgrounds, Catholic and Protestant.
Yeah, and his mother, sadly, passing away when he was just 14.
Losing a parent so young really shapes your worldview. It probably contributed to his empathy, his desire to connect on a deeper level.
It makes sense. And speaking of connection, Bono forms U2 with his school friends. This is 1977. The Edge, Larry Mullen Jr., Adam Clayton, their music, this powerful mix of rock and roll and those deeply spiritual themes.
It's interesting, though, their shared faith almost led to a breakup early on. Some real conflicts about how to reconcile those beliefs with their musical ambitions.
So did that tension, that struggle, fuel their creative energy?
Absolutely. That friction ignited something special in their music. They explored themes of doubt, faith, searching for meaning. It resonated with a lot of young people grappling with similar questions.
So their internal conflicts actually made their music more relatable.
I think so. It gave it a depth and authenticity that set them apart.
Their music quickly gained popularity, and U2 rose to global stardom. Albums like War and The Unforgettable Fire really solidifying their place. Then, the Joshua Tree in 1987, one of their most influential even today.
The Joshua Tree, it's a masterpiece. It captured the spirit of the times,
Okay.
the political and social anxieties, and it showcased their range from anthemic rock to introspective ballads.
Yeah, it's powerful. Number 26 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums. But Bono's journey wasn't limited to just the stage, right? Around this time, his activism starts to take shape.
Yeah, his involvement with Amnesty International's Conspiracy of Hope tour, that was a real turning point. Seeing the power of music firsthand to raise awareness for human rights.
And he didn't just lend his voice. He went to places like Nicaragua and El Salvador, experiencing war and poverty firsthand.
Those experiences had a profound impact. They fueled his passion for social justice and definitely influenced U2's music.
U2 built this immense platform, and Bono stepped onto a different stage.
Right.
The world of activism. Their music was climbing the charts with hits like How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, but Bono was already onto a second career, a global politician, but without a portfolio.
The Edge described Bono as the chairman and founding member of Overachievers Anonymous, someone with this irrepressible lust to be great and a lust for life. And I think that captures his drive perfectly. He wasn't content with just being a rock star. He wanted to use his fame to make a real difference.
He started leveraging his celebrity, meeting with presidents, prime ministers, economists, anyone he felt could help advance the causes he believed in.
And in 2002, he co-founds DATA, an organization dedicated to combating poverty, hunger, and AIDS in Africa.
Data uses awareness campaigns, right?
Yeah.
And partnerships.
They work on the ground, collaborating with communities, advocating for policy changes. It was a significant step in his evolution as an activist.
It was around this time that Bono landed on the cover of Time magazine. And the question they asked was, can Bono save the world? Really highlights the level of influence he had achieved.
It's an interesting question, isn't it? It raises this key point about his approach. He doesn't shy away from working with controversial figures if it furthers his goals.
Right, that caused some friction,
Yeah.
especially when he collaborated with President George W. Bush.
Yeah, Bono's willingness to engage across the political spectrum, even those he might disagree with, it's been praised and criticized. Some say it's pragmatic to get things done. Others feel it compromises his values.
It's complex. But his trip to Africa with U.S. Treasury Secretary Paul O'Neill in 2002, that had an impact.
That trip highlighted the potential for alliances across party lines to tackle global poverty. The Washington Post called it a potential momentous alliance between liberals and conservatives.
And that trip kind of planted the seeds for the One campaign, which he co-founded in 2004, to fight extreme poverty and preventable diseases.
The One campaign focuses on mobilizing public support and advocating for policy changes to address these issues. And in 2008, Data and One merged, creating this unified front against poverty.
It's interesting to see how Bono's always seeking new and innovative ways to tackle these massive problems. And speaking of innovative, he also co-founded Our Reds in 2006.
RED is a fascinating organization, partnering with companies to create products that generate funds to fight AIDS in Africa.
It's a unique model that harnesses consumerism for a good cause. As we move into the 2010s, there's a shift. It seems like Bono starts working more behind the scenes, focusing on policy, building alliances.
Yeah, he stepped away from the spotlight a bit, took a more strategic, less public approach.
Like a transition from frontman to producer, working behind the scenes to make things happen.
And in 2022, he releases his memoir, Surrender. 40 songs, one story, offering this glimpse into his personal journey, his reflections on his life and work.
I think this is a good place to pause for now. We've covered a lot. From his early days in Dublin to his emergence as a global activist. Bono's journey. Anything but ordinary.
It's really a testament to the power of passion and the impact one person can have when they dedicate themselves to something bigger than themselves. Welcome back. It's fascinating how Bono navigates those two worlds, music and activism. They seem so different, yet he blends them together.
Right, like he uses his music as a springboard for activism. U2's music often touches on social justice, then he takes it further, using his fame to advocate for real change.
He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He doesn't just attend those galas and give speeches. He goes to the front lines, meets with people affected by these issues.
Like those trips to Africa. He could have easily just donated money, but he wanted to see it firsthand, understand the complexities on a deeper level.
That experience, that direct engagement, it informs his whole approach. It's not theoretical for him, it's personal.
That's a good point. He brings this human element to global issues. He reminds us that behind all the statistics, there are real people impacted.
And those policy debates, his willingness to work with figures like President Bush, that sparked a lot of controversy.
Some people felt he was compromising by aligning himself with a leader whose policies they opposed. They questioned if working within the system, even making deals, was truly effective.
The million-dollar question. Is it better to be a radical outsider or work within the power structure, even if it means compromises?
No easy answer. And I think Bono's approach has evolved. Early on, he was more willing to play the game, shake hands with anyone if it helped his cause.
But he matured as an activist. He realized that sometimes you have to be more strategic, more selective.
He learned that change often requires a multi-pronged approach. Working with governments, but also empowering those grassroots movements, holding leaders accountable.
It's finding that balance between pragmatism and idealism. Bono's still figuring it out, just like all of us trying to make a difference.
A lifelong journey.
It is. And speaking of journeys, his memoir, Surrender, 40 songs, one story, it provides some interesting insights into his evolution.
He talks about those early days, just wanting to make noise, get attention. But as he learned more, he realized it wasn't enough to just shout.
He had to roll up his sleeves, get involved with policy work, fundraising, building coalitions. Not always glamorous, but it's where the real work happens.
That's what sets him apart from other celebrity activists. He's deeply involved in the process of actually creating change.
He's a student of activism, always learning. And he's not afraid to admit when he's messed up or when things haven't worked.
That humility is important. It allows him to keep learning, growing.
It makes him relatable, human. He's not this perfect figure. He's someone struggling alongside us to make the world better.
It's inspiring. He uses his platform to amplify those often ignored voices.
He shines a light on issues many would rather avoid, and he challenges us to think differently about our role in creating a more just world.
It's interesting how his activism has shifted from this very public, in-your-face style to something more behind the scenes.
I think that shift reflects a deeper understanding of how change happens. It's not always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's that slow, steady work, building relationships, influencing policy, empowering communities.
Playing the long game. Patience, persistence, a willingness to work with those you might not always agree with.
Finding common ground, even with deep divisions, something we can all learn from.
We're talking about dialogue, understanding, but Bono actually puts those principles into practice.
He engages with those he disagrees with, listens, tries to find that common ground. Not easy, but it's essential for progress on the issues that matter.
It's building a more inclusive movement, one that welcomes everyone.
Recognizing we're all in this together, regardless of our beliefs.
A powerful message, especially today.
A message that resonates. And Bono continues to embody that in his work.
Tree is interesting. Co-founded in 2006, a different approach. It leverages consumerism for a good cause.
Artie partners with companies, creating products that generate funds to fight AIDS in Africa. It's brilliant. People contribute just by making regular purchases.
Integrate social good into everyday life. Incredibly successful.
RD has generated millions for AIDS programs, helped save countless lives.
It shows Bono's creativity, thinking outside the box.
constantly looking for innovative ways to engage people and make a difference.
That's what makes him so compelling. Not afraid to experiment, try new things, push the
A
boundaries.
true innovator in the world of activism.
His work has had a profound impact, raising awareness, generating funds, influencing policy.
And his story reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference.
Through our art, our work, our choices, we can all contribute to a better world.
It's about finding our own voice, our own way.
Never giving up on that fight. What a journey exploring Bono's life and work. From Dublin to global activism, always pushing boundaries.
A force of nature, his belief in people creating change, that's striking.
He doesn't see himself as a savior, more like a catalyst, inspiring others to take action.
Right, like he always says, we're not asking for charity, we're asking for justice. Or, poverty isn't inevitable, it's an outrage. Wants to shake people up, ignite that fire.
And he's not afraid to call out injustice. Halls of power or a forgotten village doesn't matter.
Remember when he criticized the Irish government? Cutting their foreign aid budget?
He didn't hold back, called it a betrayal and shameful.
He speaks truth to power, ruffles feathers.
That's what makes him effective. He's not just a celebrity lending his name. He's a passionate advocate, putting his reputation on the line.
He takes risks, makes mistakes, learns. We can all learn from that.
He's always evolving, adapting, finding new ways to make a difference.
Never content. Always the next challenge, pushing the envelope.
His life, his work, it really challenges us to think about our own role in creating a more just world.
He reminds us, you don't have to be a rock star to make a difference. We can all use our voices, our talents, our resources.
Supporting organizations like Data, One, Red, volunteering, speaking out. We all have a part.
It's not always about grand gestures. He shows us that. It's those everyday choices, the conversations, the actions.
Living our values, even the small things.
A powerful message. Gives me hope.
Me too. Bono's story, it's about overcoming obstacles, fighting for what's right, making a difference.
A reminder that even in dark times, there's hope, and we all have the power to create a better future.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the life and legacy of Bono. We hope you found it as inspiring as we did.
See the storm set in your eyes. See the fall